Do we all have bubbles in our glasses? Okay. Does anybody have not bubbles? And did someone skip the bubbles and go on to the next one? Okay, no. Okay. All right, good. All right, should we get going?
Yeah, let's roll.
Let's roll. All right.
Roll.
You guys ready? Yeah. It's Friday. Okay. All right. Welcome to the podcast. Blair, it's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is the biggest, the largest live audience I've ever had on the show. Look at this.
Look at this.
You guys could cheer. And there's cameras and there's lights and this is serious business. This is amazing. I have heard, though, that you've already been enjoying yourself in Atlanta. I heard you had a really good night at Lucian Books and Wine last night.
It was awesome.
What did you drink?
Great spot. What did we have last night, Aaron? We had a bottle of Gamay and a bottle of Syrah, Cross Hermitage. Yeah. It was magic, and the food was awesome. I mean, it's a cool scene. It's a cool spot.
Raise your hand if you've been to Lucian. Like everyone is. Like
well, shout
Kelly,
out to them. They're doing a good job.
They're like, we live in Atlanta, Kelly. We like wine. We've been to Lucian. Duh. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Yes. Oh my goodness. And we all have wine in our glasses. We have sparkling wine. Happy Friday. What's in our glass, Blair?
Yeah, we got the 2021 Stewart Cellars Sparkling, Santa Cruz Mountains. So yeah.
Love that. And it has a little bit of Pinot Noir in there.
Yeah. I mean, predominantly Chardonnay. We put in about 20% Pinot, just to kind of broaden it out, fatten it up. But nice laser beam, fresh, bright Santa Cruz sparkling.
It tastes like the weekend. I'm ready. I'm ready. It's Friday afternoon. We're ready to go. This moment, looking around at this crowd, this is huge. There are so many people I respect and love in the Atlanta wine community. So you're meeting the people in Atlanta who love wine, who sell wine, who work with wine, talk about wine. But this moment has been in the works for, I looked back at my text messages, 3-4 months. Aaron's over there nodding. So you're sitting next to someone who has been crafting this for a long time, and I heard there's surprises. Does anybody know about the surprises that are happening?
What are the surprises?
Oh, there's one hand that went up. Blair, do you know about the surprises?
I don't know about the surprises.
Should we tell them about the surprises? Let Aaron tell them.
Okay, here, I'm gonna hand Aaron the mic.
Hand Aaron the mic. Aaron Cooper, everybody. Yes. Okay, so there hasn't been any leaks except for Danielle back here. What is in store after this lovely conversation?
So, we're going to have 5 wines, sparkling, a rosé. Then we're going to go to a cab, a Pinot, and then another cab, so 5 wines. The last 3 are going to be pretty heavy, so I figured you might want some food on your stomach. So Bovino After Dark is in the back kitchen right now prepping nourishment for after the podcast. So, cheers.
Yes. This is podcast history. I don't know how I'm ever going to outdo this. I don't know. Thank you, Aaron, so much. He's making this podcast this is the last show ever, because can't get better than this. All right, so that's really, really good. I saw the wine list a few weeks ago. I did a little bit of research, and then I was like, nope. I turned off the computer. I stopped looking because I wanted to be surprised throughout, and so I don't even remember all the wines that we're going to have, so I'm really, really excited. But we are joined by, like I said, Atlanta wine community. This is what we do. What an honor. And we have one key person to thank for making this possible. That's you, Aaron, you evil genius. Thank you so much.
More than happy.
So Blair is here all the way from California. This is Blair, winemaker Blair. Everybody say hi. Yes? Okay. But how did you, Blair, connect with Aaron? How did this friendship blossom?
So I think it originally started, at least for me, Aaron had been buying the Stewart Cellars wines, I think, for a year or 2 maybe. But I just started getting like this overwhelming amount of DMs on my Instagram account. I'm like, who is this crazy guy?
Who loves your wine?
He loves my wine so much. I'm like, what is going on? He's DM'd me all these questions. I could tell he was so passionate about wine. He was super pumped that he'd found wine. He was trying to learn as much as he could. I could see it in everything he was writing, just the way he was talking. I was like, there's a lot of passion in this guy. So we just got talking, and he's been buying wines, and I eventually was like, why don't you come out to California and crush some grapes with me? So I invited him out to California, and he was this last harvest. He came to the winery, and the rest is history. He crushed grapes with me.
And now you're sitting on a couch in Atlanta doing a podcast together
with Aaron.
With all of his friends.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm sure we'll have a great friendship going forward for many years now, and he'll be out to California stomping grapes again in the
Okay,
future.
I did hear there was a potential mishap. Aaron, I'm gonna let's pass the mic to Aaron because I do want your side of the story. What is it about the Stewart wines that made you reach out to Blair so much on Instagram and drink so much wine? What is it about these wines?
So I'll say it this way: we're all in the wine community. We all drink different wines, different varietals, things of that nature. But we all have that one wine that sets us on our path and changes our vision, our thoughts, our ideals, all those things when it comes to wine. So I've been drinking Stewart Cellars since 2018. And over at a place called The Select in Sandy Springs, they were selling the Tartan, which is their red blend. And so me and my best friend were drinking their wines. They're great, so on and so forth. One day on a Thursday, she says, "We're going to Napa this weekend." I'm sorry, what? Okay, so, hopped on a plane on the next day, went to Napa. We're driving through Yountville, and we passed by the Stewart Cellars Tasting Hall, and I was like a 5-year-old jumping up and down in the Mustang, literally. So went in there, went in the tasting hall, tasted through their entire portfolio, and as I wrote in an article that went out a couple of months ago, it changed my vision, it changed my understanding, it helped me to understand how wine can be exceptional, and winemaking is an art. It's a science, but it's more an art. And between the Yountville cab, between the Tartan, and really the Nomads are what blew my mind. And it's been history ever since. So here we are.
And you liked Blair as a friend, so then that helps too, right? The wine tastes better because he's also a friend.
It's definitely nice to have a friend named Blair Guthrie that makes amazing wine, yes.
Well, thank you so much for putting this together. Who designed the lineup for tonight? How did you pick what you wanted to be featuring for the live audience?
It was a kind of a joint venture. Everybody knows TOAE, and if TOAE's around, there's bubbles. So got to start with some sparkling. From there, it was kind of they have a rosé, so that'll probably be something pretty good to try for when it's hot outside. Then you have the Nomads, which just, like I said before, they just blow my mind. And so let's just actually, in short, screw it. Let's just go through the entire portfolio. That's how it played out. Let's make this worth it.
Why not? It's your party. You can do that. Okay. Quick question for the audience. Show of hands. How many of you have had the Stewart wines before? Okay. Maybe the better question is who hasn't? Okay, there's a few. Okay, cool. So that was a good decision to just go with the whole portfolio. Do we have any sommeliers in the room that can help keep glasses full tonight? I see nods. Okay. No one's. They're like, Kelly, we didn't come here to work. Okay. Well, I appreciate that we have wine professionals who will help us go through these wines, which is really, really great. You are here with us in Atlanta by way of California, but you're originally from New Zealand. And Aaron, you can either hang with us on the couch if you want to pop in, or if you want to not be scared in the spotlight, you can go back wherever you need to go. Or you can sit.
I think I'm going to just show you.
I like it. But then also you can you keep an eye on glasses and tell it, get the next wine, say, okay, it's time for next wine. You're in charge. You can be in charge of that. I love that.
One thing I want to say before we continue.
Oh. Lean in.
Thank you, Taylor and the Vine Club of Atlanta, for letting us do this here. It is much appreciated.
Vine Club, Taylor. Taylor's here. And everybody, can we say happy belated birthday to Taylor? This space is all about community. This is what we do here. And he's been such a supporter of the Atlanta wine community, and he created this space so cool things like this can happen. So
this is cool.
Yeah, thank you, Vine Club.
Yeah.
Love that.
Awesome.
All right, well, yeah, you're here by way of California.
Yeah.
Flew in yesterday?
Flew in yesterday.
Went to Lucian, had some wine?
Had some wine.
Perfect. But you're originally from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Show of hands, who's been to New Zealand? We've got one.
We got one.
Kathy. Okay, love that. It is honestly a bucket list for me, mainly for wine, but also for golf. So my dream trip is a New Zealand golf and wine trip. It'll happen someday. But what was life like growing up in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Can you give us a glimpse of Blair's early days, young Blair?
Yeah. Grew up in a pretty traditional New Zealand family. I grew up in the countryside of the South Island. My family's not in the wine business. Just, stereotypical New Zealand family. Farmland, played rugby, drunk a lot of beer. And I really fell into the wine industry. So, originally I was a graphic designer in New Zealand. I thought that's what I wanted to do. I'd always been an artist. I thought that's where I was going. But being a country kid, I really struggled to sit on a computer, and realized after doing graphic design for a few years that I had to change career. And I was like having a midlife crisis at like 23 years old, I think. Going, oh my God, I can't do this for the rest of my life. What am I going to do? I think I was going to join the military. My mom was like, hell no, you're not doing that. And I think she literally put a advertisement to go study winemaking and viticulture at school, to go enroll in some courses. I was like, maybe I'll do that. I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do.
You're having a midlife crisis.
I was having a midlife crisis.
23.
I enrolled in the school and got accepted, and I quit my job and packed my bags and moved up to the North Island to study winemaking and viticulture, on a whim. So
Mom was right.
Yeah, I guess so.
We have your mom to thank for you these days. Okay.
That's kind of that was it. I was a beer drinking rugby boy. I was not cultured or into wine at all growing up.
But I remember hearing that you have the skills in athletics and with graphic design and art. Yeah. Do those skills apply to winemaking in any way that you might be surprised by?
I think so. I definitely look at wine as just another medium to be creative. Absolutely, 100%. That is the way I make wine. I do love the science side of it, and it is extremely important in what I do today, but it is very much a creative process for me. From growing the grapes, even the way you prune a vine is a sculpture in its own, all the way through to blending wines. So I think being just a creative person and having that in my blood naturally has helped. But I was also a very athletic kid, played a lot of sports and was very competitive. And so especially in Napa Valley, I think it's one of the most competitive places to make wine in the world. You're competing against some of the best winemakers in the world in Napa Valley. And so I think having that kind of competitive spirit definitely helps as well, for sure.
That's so interesting, because I think I typically hear about community winemaking as community and collaborative and all these things, but let's not forget the competition is there.
It's fierce out there. You got to be on your game. You got to be on your toes, or you get left behind. It is really competitive, but that's great, because that's what gets me up in the morning is, the next, can I make a better wine every time I go to the winery? Yeah.
Thank you for talking about sculpture in the vineyards and that a vine. I'll never look at that the same when it comes to pruning. But I did read that also you were a mural artist. Is there a mural that you're particularly super proud of?
There is, actually. I did do, so that's why I got into that graphic design industry. I was an artist and I wanted to paint. And so I had originally got into that part of the business because I wanted to do murals. And so I painted, 50-foot, 60-foot murals on buildings. And I loved it, but, it was only one a year. It's not enough to keep the juices flowing. But I did do one. It was for the local RSA club, which is our return service. It's our veterans, I don't know what you call it over here, but it's where all our veterans hang out. We did a huge 50-foot mural on a wall there, and that I'm still super proud of that mural. It was really amazing. It's a World War II style mural.
And it's still there.
Still there today.
Your legacy
I drive my
lives
kids
on.
When I take my kids to New Zealand, I drive them by. I go, I painted that.
Your legacy lives on through the mural.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Any other artists in the room? Yes.
Yeah, we got.
Well, of course, our videographer raised. Of course, we've got our video. Thank you, Merlin. Yes, but so you could be a winemaker. Look at that. He's like, yes, maybe.
You could be. Yeah.
He's thought about it before. I love that. Okay, so yeah, the art context, and then totally switching gears to go to winemaking. Mm-hmm. So connect the dots for us here, because I know that you moved from New Zealand to California.
Yeah.
So describe that connection to that first job you had
Yeah.
and landing your first California role, because you kind of worked for an icon out there.
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate, and I think ultimately I've had some great mentors kind of fast track my career with me. I think because they saw the passion that I had for really wanting to be successful in the industry. So straight out of school, I actually got a job in Australia. So I worked in South Australia, and I worked for a gentleman, Brendan Keys. He has BK Wines in South Australia. He had built a winery in Argentina for Paul Hobbs. He has Vinacobos in Argentina, Paul Hobbs Winery. So Brendan, who I was working for, had built that winery for him. And so Brendan was like, you've got to go work for Paul. So he called Paul. He's like, you got to hire this kid for...
Just called him up. Hey, Paul, I got a
called him,
kid
was
for
like,
you.
you got to hire this kid for Harvest to come and do an internship for Harvest. He's ready to go in 6 weeks. And he got me the job. I had an interview. They said, yep, come on over, get your visa and come on over. And so I landed in, that was 2009. I landed in at Paul Hobbs Winery in Sebastopol, California. Yeah.
Showed up, the kid that they hired sight unseen.
Yeah. And it was amazing. I mean, great experience that really, I think, set in stone my career path for sure at that point.
And then knowing that, so you came from the South Australian winemaking to California.
Yeah.
What was the process then are there any key differences that you would point out that really were different for you in the winemaking ethos, winemaking philosophy from that big move from Australia to California?
Yeah, I think it's cold
there's-
pouring you
wait,
behind you.
Sorry, 1 second. There's rosé being. Thank you, Mason. I have rosé. Well, speaking of winemaking, what did I just get? A sneak attack.
He just
I like it.
snuck a little bit of the Stewart Rosé into your glass from Sonoma Mountain.
And the grape from the
Yeah,
rosé.
so this is a blend of Pinot Gris, predominantly Pinot Gris, with a little bit of Pinot Noir in it. Picked really early. I love my rosé just crisp, fresh, and bright. So pick it really early. We picked this at 20 bricks. So it's usually very low alcohol, around 11.5 to 12% alcohol usually. But Pinot Gris is an amazing grape. It doesn't get enough respect in California, I don't think. I think it always has this beautiful Asian pear character to it, so it makes great rosé. But pick it early, stainless steel fermented, fresh and bright. It's a banger every year.
This is delicious.
Yeah.
I am very happy to have this. Thank you, Mason, for filling my glass. That was a really heavy pour, too. I like it. It matches my nails. It's delicious. This is rosé time. It's hot in Atlanta, so thank you for...
It's always rosé time.
This is true. It always is rosé, especially now. So good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for bringing this wine because, as we were talking about the difference of the winemaking philosophy, what were some of the key things?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing when I was in Australia, I was in the Adelaide Hills of South Australia. It was still really trying to kind of up and coming. It was very much still a lifestyle career. In New Zealand and Australia, there's not a lot of money in it. I think even today, I mean, it's starting to grow enough versus coming to California. It's a big deal. It's big business here. Some of these Napa wineries are big full wineries. So I think the biggest difference there was the amount of money flowing in and out of the industry, and the amount of cost it is to make wine in California. So I think the stakes are a lot higher, for sure. But I think in general, if you're taking winemaking seriously, it's the same no matter where you go. It's the same type of people that are very driven and very passionate, no matter if you're in New Zealand, Australia, the US. Yeah.
Okay. Which is really interesting because I know then after some time in California, you decided to move back.
Yeah. So I had to go back. My visa ran out.
Oh, well, there's that.
So I worked for Paul briefly, and my visa ran out. I had to go back to South Australia to work with Brendan. I had a role as the assistant winemaker there, so it was, it was already set up. I had no intention of moving to the US. I was just coming to the US to do my internship, move back. I thought that was it. I just happened to meet a girl at the same time while I was here. My now wife, Caroline.
Now wife.
Yeah,
Well,
now wife,
that'll
Caroline.
change things.
Yeah. She was also an intern for Paul Hobbs, and so she is Stewart Cellars. She was learning the ropes, working with Paul, because she was eventually going to be the Stewart Cellars winemaker. So I left thinking I'm never going to see this girl again. And then Harvest was starting in South Australia, and I had an intern pull out at the last minute. she actually got pregnant. She was like, I can't work harvest. I'm pregnant. I'm sorry. So I called Caroline, my wife, up, and was like, hey, do you want to move to Australia for 6 months?
Who would say yes? I'm looking at, I'm like, who would say yes? We've got some hands. There's some hands up. They want that call. I love that.
And so she literally was like, yeah. And within, I think, 3 weeks, she landed in Australia, moved in with me, and we were working there. So, and that was kind of like, our relationship just bloomed from there, and we got engaged, and we're like, hey, where are we going to live? We're going to live in New Zealand. We're going to live in Australia. We're going to live in California. And Stewart Cellars was already a small kind of brand at that point. I was like, well, why don't we go back to California and take Stewart Cellars and build it into a real brand that we can be proud of. And so we did, and that was 2011.
And now we're drinking a whole flight of Stewart Cellars today.
Yeah. It's grown a lot since then. I mean, I'm just thinking about it now in my head, like, it was a couple of SKUs back then. I think it was 3 wines, and it was probably 500 cases, 600 cases. And, now I think I bottled 24 different wines for Stewart Cellars.
Aaron, when was your first Stewart Cellars purchase? What year?
Directly from Stewart Cellars?
Yes.
I would
just
say
yell it out.
After I went out there to Yountville and tasted the wines, it was literally January 2020. I said, here's my credit card. Let's go.
2020. So you'd making Stewart Cellars for a while. You just didn't have a fan in Aaron until 2020, which is fine.
Exactly.
You got your building the portfolio.
Yeah.
But how do you describe the Stewart portfolio? What are some of your guiding principles, your practices?
Yeah. I mean, we're predominantly a Cabernet house, focusing on Bordeaux, but I mean, we do...
As I'm drinking rosé.
Yeah, as we're drinking rosé. We've expanded a lot since then. I mean, I think we make a lot of classic varietals, classic wines, but really trying to make, wines that are true to Napa Valley or Sonoma, wherever the grapes are pulling from, that still, though, have some tension to them, still have some restraint, and are not just these, big, juicy oak bombs or overpowering wines. I think we still want to make bigger, bold California-style wines. I'm very proud of making California wine, but wind them down a little bit. So like style-wise, that's kind of where they land. And then like on the farming side for grapes, really working with great vineyard sites that will make world-class wines. Not really willing to just go into a random vineyard and make a random SKU for Stewart Cellars. Everything is made with a real intention of what we want the end product to be. And so working with great growers that have that same ethos, that take growing of the grapes very seriously, really trying to work with organic vineyards as much as possible. Organic farming is very true to my heart. Like, I think it's the future of farming in general, and I think that the industry as a whole should be moving organic, period. And so really trying to work with farmers that are doing that. And if they're not doing it, saying, hey, willing to sign your grapes up, but hey, can we move this vineyard into some sort of organic program and slowly get there over the next couple of years, which for some farmers, that's all they need is that nudge. So yeah, I mean, organic farming, working with small families that grow grapes, because we're a small family business wanting to also work with small farmers as well and try and really build out like family and culture and creativity around the whole bottle.
Those sound like things that you had at the very beginning from those early days, and you're continuing now. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think we don't need wine to be a commodity. Like it's a passionate, creative, cultured wine like industry, and we need to build on that.
You just made a lot of people smile. Did you see that? Like, you have a lot of people that have committed their careers to this industry too, and so hearing that is really encouraging.
I think we have to go that direction. Like, if we're just making cheap alcohol, like there's not a future for those wines. I think. I mean, we can't compete with vodka. Like, we need, like, the reason wine is beautiful is the history and the culture and the family behind it, and like that's what I want to push forward.
So as you've had experience working with all these different people, you obviously have worked at different places, different countries, different people, different ownership.
Yeah.
How do you navigate your own style within the style of the people that you work with? Because I do know that even in Vine Club tonight, we have some of the wines with your name on them too. So you're making your own label, but when you're working for Stewart versus your own label, how do you navigate your own footprint?
Yeah, I think Luckily, I have ADD. It actually helps me. I just like my superpower in wine, I feel like. And I'm really able to just wear many hats. And I think I can take off one hat and put on my Pinot Noir hat, and take off my Pinot Noir hat, put my Cabernet hat on. But I think, the essence of it is really what I want to do is showcase the vineyards, or showcase the region where I'm getting that grape from. And so I think it's less of trying to imprint my style on it, and more trying to express the vineyard and the growing season, that vintage, and that allowing it to be different every single year. I don't want my wines to taste the same every year. It's very important for me to have the imprint of that vintage on them, because it's different every year. It's just a natural product, and we're working with Mother Nature. I have a direction that I want to go in, but I'm quite happy for it to snake in that direction, as long as we're staying in line with what I think it needs to be, which is wines that show a sense of place with tension, and that are farmed well, and everyone around us is having fun.
Fun is probably a key ingredient to this. I can tell. I feel like it's playful to a certain extent. When you do get to have that flexibility each year and listen to things, you are using your own skill set to listen to the vineyard sites and see where you can really express those characteristics.
Yeah, and I am very fortunate, because it is our own business, and that my wife and I get to call the shots. I don't have to go to a board meeting and sit down with the marketing team and say, hey, this is what you have to make for this market. I can really ultimately make what I want to make, which a lot of winemakers don't get to do that. So I feel very fortunate to do what I'm doing, for sure.
I love that. And I love that it's the family aspect too, because now you get to call the shots, you get to create all that.
It's like the best thing and the worst thing about being in it is that you work, we get to call the shots, we got all the freedom, but we literally work 7 days a week. And if the drain is plugged up at the tasting room, we're there unplugging it. If there's a pick at 4 a.m., we're at the pick at 4 a.m. So
now it's all on you too. Now it's all on you. Yes, it is. Okay, so I'm looking around the room too. These are all people that love wine. Mason is filling your glass with something beautiful. What is he filling our glasses with now? Mason, you're like a superstar Som. What do we have? What did you
pour? I think he poured us the Yountville Cabernet here, I can tell you.
Oh, you're blinding it.
The Yountville Cabernet, for sure.
Okay.
So our tasting room for Stewart Cellars is in Yountville, and so we really wanted to make a Yountville Cabernet. So this is from 2 vineyards, literally 5 minutes away from the vineyard in from the tasting room in Yountville. So Yountville's a really great spot. I mean, I think it's really cool. So it has really warm days, but we get a huge amount of cold breeze coming in from the San Pablo Bay, blowing into Yountville. Yountville is still kind of like towards, it's just the southern end of Napa, really. A lot of that cold air banks up right at Yountville, and it doesn't push much further up the valley. And so we kind of get this true Napa Valley Cabernet that's ripe and robust, but you also get this beautiful kind of earth tones and a little bit of like kind of what I like to say is like you kind of get that like 1980s, 1970s Napa Cab aroma to it.
It's my dad's favorite.
Yeah. Where it's not just all fruit. It's got, some undertones, some nice green undertones and some brown undertones to it. Yeah.
What do y'all think of the Cab?
Which we've lost. I mean, it's kind of like an herbal note to it that you lose in Napa Cab these days. Mainly climate change has caused some of this, I think, but viticulture changed that a lot. And so I'm looking to try and preserve that kind of herbal note to it, that tea and character to it, because you lose it so quickly in California. We have endless amounts of fruit on the nose and on the palate in California. It's really hard, I think, to get those earth tones in the wines, especially Napa Cab.
I'm smiling. This is so good. It does take me, that Kathy shouted out the 70s, because this is the kind of Napa wine that I grew up around at the family table. My dad loved these wines and these places, and you're shouting out the really key characteristics that keep people coming back for those things.
Right.
But as you're making wine now, and a lot of people in this room work in the wine business, what drives you to stay in the wine business, Blair?
I think because I'm a little bit insane, probably.
You're getting nods of approval from fellow insane.
I don't know. I mean, I just love creating stuff. I really don't think we could do anything else at this point. I just love creating the product. And the fact that like my office is a vineyard or a cellar, you know, it's kind of like, why would you do anything else? I think, you know, people that really get the wine bug, and I know a lot of people in this room have probably been bitten by it, like, no matter, you're going to do it no matter what. I think, I don't know. I'm not going anywhere. I get to wake up and go to a vineyard. I'm good.
And maybe we'll see you making a mural someday again soon, maybe?
Yeah.
You can do both.
Well, when I can afford like a whole lot of concrete tanks in my own winery, I want to line them up and paint a big mural across them. I think that would be super cool.
Can you let us know when that happens?
Yeah.
You just said it here. Heard it here first.
Okay, you heard
it's happening. Blair's going to have a mural on his concrete tanks. I'm ready.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really awesome. Because thinking about the wine industry as a whole, we're all realists in some sense. We know there are challenges.
Yeah, it's a
what do you
challenging
think
industry.
it is? So what do you think are the biggest challenges for you right now, particularly in California? And then in addition to that, how can we help?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think climate change is a big problem, I think. I think it's going to make a few areas in California really not great places to grow grapes. That's a challenge. And I think the changing dynamics of drinkers is a challenge. I'm less concerned about that only because my wife and I are fairly young for the wine business, and I'm actually looking at that as like a real great opportunity for us. But I mean, I mean, everybody here knows it's a tough industry. It's really competitive. And I think if we can just spread the word for more, you know, pushing sommeliers and wine buyers are really the gatekeepers of the wine industry. I think, you know, really they're putting wine in front of people. And I think we can push as many small, real family brands forward as much as possible. I think that's the key, because I really do think the salt of the industry is the small family brands. And those are the guys that are making the wines that change your life. You know, when you have those life-changing wines, those happen from, you know, small operations. They're not happening from these big conglomerate, wine companies.
And you know each other.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before the podcast, which I never do. I should never have conversations before the podcast, but we did. And even that, it's saying the people who make these wines, and you have common friends of mine that are in California making cool wines, and you even know my friend in Pennsylvania who's making cool wines.
Kieran
so
and I are
it's
good friends,
Kieran, like you have friends in the wine industry, so it's real people behind these places, and if we can help people connect the dots to the people, maybe we're doing something right.
I think that's it, right? Like it's real people behind real brands making real wine from real vineyards, and pushing that as much as possible. I really do think that's how we survive and thrive into the future.
So who has inspired you then over the years? You mentioned some of your mentors, some of the people you've worked for.
Yeah.
But have you had any key mentorship, key leaders that you've been able to work with?
I've had 3 people who have been very influential in my career. One is Brendan Keys for BK Wines in South Australia. I mean, I worked for him first, and he really taught me that you could think outside the box and that you don't need to make wine the way they tell you have to make it, or do it the way your neighbor's making it, or, you know, like in Napa, that you don't have to make it the same way everyone else is doing in Napa. That you can think outside the box. He really taught me that. And then working for Paul, because I'm a very creative person, I like to draw outside the lines a lot. And I think he really taught me almost the opposite of that, was like, hey, like you need to have
Stay in the box.
Yeah, sometimes you need to be in the box. And he really taught me to be detail orientated with my winemaking and my viticulture. And so I think those 2 combinations were great. And then the third guy would be Zach Long, who I worked for when I immigrated to the US. He really taught me a lot about the business side, which most winemakers don't get an opportunity to learn until very later in their career. But he really taught me about, like, hey, if you're going to sell a $30 bottle, like, how do you get there to that point so that you can make money? How are you going to sell a $50 bottle or a $20 bottle? I think that most winemakers make a wine when they start their own brand, and the last thing they think about is, like, how much it costs them to make it.
Oh no, that's that's someone else does that, right?
Yes. And so Zach really told me, he's like, no, that's the first thing you need to think about. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
So those three were three separate parts of the industry, and all three of those people were really very influential on my career. Yeah.
You mentioned price, and I again, because people sell wine and work in the industry, I'm thinking from your perspective, you've made wine in different price points.
Yeah.
You now work with sites that are classic for
Yeah.
California Cabernet Sauvignon. So
Yeah.
what, in Blair's opinion, what makes a good Cabernet Sauvignon? What are you looking for?
For
He took a deep breath. I didn't know that was going to be the hardest question.
I mean, I'm lucky that I really appreciate so many different styles. But for me, like Napa Cab, when I'm making it, I really want density on the mid palate is really what I'm looking for. Full body with earth tone and fruit. But I think making these big, full wines that don't lose their tension is the hardest thing. And I think part of that is probably picking a little bit earlier than most people are picking so that I can retain some of that natural acidity and just keep those wines wound down. But I would say like full mid-palate density is like what I'm trying to do for the cabs that I'm making out of Napa, for sure. And Sonoma now, like we have a newest Sonoma estate, so same thing for Sonoma cabs.
Show of hands in the room. Who is a California Cabernet Sauvignon fanatic? Like who buys Cabernet from? We've got, yep. All right. Do you agree with what Blair just said? Yeah, you're getting a nod. Okay. Yeah. He's like, yes. Well, the winemaker, yes. I'm agreeing with you. But I think it's interesting because there's so much variation in that category.
Yeah.
And obviously different pricing. So when I ask, what is a good Cabernet Sauvignon, that can come at lots of different prices.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and I make it all, right? I make Tocolon Cabernet. That's $240 a bottle. And I also make, Cabernets down at $30 a bottle. Actually, we make one that's $20 a bottle.
You make it $20 California Cabernet?
For a different brand that we have, but not for
different brand. Okay.
not Stewart Cellars. But we have another brand called Slingshot that we make, and it's $22 a bottle. And granted, my $240 bottle is much more dense and much more of an intense wine, but that's for a different drinker. And the $22 bottle is a everyday quaffing wine, right? And for me, it's making wines for occasions. Like you shouldn't be able to drink one bottle at every single occasion. You should be able to choose a specific wine for that occasion. So I'm making wine to sit by the pool and eat French fries, and I'm making wine to go to your Michelin star restaurant. Yeah.
Perfect. I did just get another pour. Shout out to Mason who's filling glasses. Masons are designated for.
Okay.
What did he just? What did he just fill in my glass
I think
here?
he poured you Pinot Noir. Okay, so this is our brand new release of our Nomad Pinot Noir.
Ooh, it's the Nomad. Oh, okay. Everyone's like swirling happily. Okay.
So I'm like super proud. I'm not usually that proud of what I do, with the wines I make. Well, I'm always like thinking, I could have done so much more. I could have done better on this. I could have done better on that. But when we bottled this wine, I'm so proud of this wine. Like, this is a really, really good wine. I'm really stoked on it. This is usually our Nomad collection has only been single vineyard Cabernets. We're starting to change that program up a little. And so this is our first release of a Pinot Noir for Nomad. The Thornton Ranch. This is a banger. I love this one.
Danielle is a new fan. Look at this. Yeah, she's in.
So Sonoma Valley fruit. So we got some whole cluster fermentation on there. So we put about 40% whole cluster grapes in there. This is just the free run of the fermentation. So we drained off just 2 full puncheon barrels. So this into puncheons. So puncheons are the bigger barrels, are twice the size of a normal barrel. So this was aged in puncheon for 10 months and then bottled. And so, because you guys are all wine nerds, tell me how much new oak you think is on this wine. 15%. 15?
You got a 15?
30?
30.
Any other guesses?
% new oak.
New oak. So what's the % new oak you think is on it? What's that? The barrels are 500 liter puncheons.
Randy needs the wine to
Okay.
neutral. Someone says zero. So you think zero? You think zero?
It's 100%.
It's 100% new oak.
It's 100% new oak.
So my only thought of
100% new oak.
that makes sense is because in my head I have this thing where I'm blinding oak. When I'm blind tasting and I taste oak, this tastes expensive.
Yeah.
That's my. So then I think it's new oak.
Can I just say, I am very particular on Pinots, and I will be placing my order tomorrow.
So we are.
But, I mean, that
we,
shows the quality of the vineyard and the wine, that it can hold that much oak. And granted, I put lower toast barrels on this, and they are puncheons, right? So puncheons are a little less impactful than a barrique, a smaller barrel, but still 100%. Like, come on.
and it can hold it.
And
You're
it
saying
holds
the
it. It
you're
holds-
saying the fruit of this Pinot can hold.
Absolutely.
And that's
Because we know how fickle and delicate Pinot is, right? Pinot does not do well with a lot of oak, right? It doesn't do well. And so, yeah, when we were putting this together and like tasting it through the aging, I'm like, we're bottling just these puncheons. This is going to be 100% new oak. This is bonkers.
But that, you just read my mind because I was thinking about all the decisions that you have to make in your current role.
Yeah.
You're making those executive decisions. You're choosing not only the vineyard sites, the picking dates,
Yeah.
but then the oak treatment. So as you're going into this 2025 vintage,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you're paying attention to that you know will be kind of key decision points for you?
Yeah, I mean, the way I make wine is I don't have, a recipe or a set of rules in place. I mean, I have I know what works for the vineyards, and so, but I'm always going in with a super open mind, and you pivot when you have to pivot. So we have the direction we're going to. So I really don't have a plan going forward because
You don't have a plan.
no, but because
do I.
you've
It's
got to
fine.
attack every barrier at the point you come across it. Because I think the mindset in the past has been like prevention is cure mentality, and so in the vineyard or in the winery they just preemptively do all these things, and when sometimes they just don't need to be done. And so I'd rather, if it doesn't need to be done, I'm not going to do it. If we don't need to go in and spray that vineyard, because if it doesn't have a mold issue, I'm not going to spray. Versus the mindset might be, every 14 days they're going to spray sulfur for mold. I'm not going to do that if it doesn't need to be done. It's the same in the winemaking. We will, when the fermentation finishes, we'll taste the wine. We'll go, what do we want to do? Do we want to press this? Do we want to barrel it down? Like, let's make a decision that moment in time. I think that for me, that's the key to my winemaking is making those decisions. And granted, it's good because I'm very hands-on winemaker, and I'm at the winery tasting tanks. I'm in the vineyard looking at the vines. I can make those decisions. It's a lot harder if you're making a lot more volume or you're a consultant winemaker for 40 brands. You're not able to make those decisions. I get to make those decisions, so it's good. Yeah.
You're
So
there,
I would say there's no plan.
There's no plan, but you're paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, you're
along the
paying
way.
attention all the way along, and I think that's the key, right? Is being there and paying attention and making a decision at that moment in time.
So we know that you didn't look back after you made this pivot to wine from graphic design and art and all those things. So where do you see yourself? 5, 10, 15 years? Let's look in a crystal ball. Like, what's
Yeah.
Blair going to be doing in like 2050? I don't know.
Yeah,
What are you going to be doing?
I'm hopefully just doing the same thing. And hopefully just, being better at it, garnering hopefully more success, and the wines become more known around the country. I'll be doing the same thing. I mean, this is the cool thing about being being in the wine industry is like, I don't feel like I need to retire. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could do this when I'm 70 years old. Hopefully I'll have I have a really fantastic assistant winemaker. Shout out to Brian Hurley, my assistant. He takes a lot of weight off my shoulders for day-to-day operations. And so having guys like him involved, that'll help me to be able to just do the fun parts. Be able to go just walk the vineyard as many times as I want or taste as many barrels as I want. I'll still be doing it. And hopefully I'll have Brian, and maybe by that time he'll have another assistant next to him. Yeah.
So you're still going to be doing this. There's no other plan. This is the plan.
Yeah, this is the plan. I mean, there's no plan B.
There's no plan B.
So this can't fail. So buy my wine.
You're making wine. You are tasting wine. You're talking about wine all the time. What's your favorite part about visiting people who buy your wine, like us here in Atlanta? Why did you come to Atlanta?
You know why I came to Atlanta? The passion that people have for wine. I mean, it is, this guy's got a lot of passion, and that's what gets me. Like, I really truly think like everything that's great in this world comes from a point of someone had passion at some point to do what they wanted to do, and that whatever they were creating. And that for me is like addictive, is finding that passion in people. You surround yourself by those people, I mean, you can't go wrong. It's so much fun. I mean, think about sitting at like a long table, right, where you have all this fantastic wine open and you have all this great food and everybody's just so excited, and the euphoria that comes with it. Like, that's what gets me out there.
You're talking to people who love community. I'm looking around. This is an incredible snapshot of the Atlanta wine community.
Well, and that's what I think the wine industry in the U.S. has lost, is the community around wine, right? I really do think that it has gone from community and culture, and it went to a commodity, and that this is the moment we can bring it back to that culture and the community that surrounds wine.
Well, we love it. Atlanta has such a vibrant scene of people who work in wine, but also who love wine, who love buying wine, tasting wine, sharing wine. We're at Vine Club, where it's in the contract, if you're a member here, that you share the wine with fellow members. Like, that's part of the contract, because that's the whole point of it. So what's your favorite part about being in the California winemaker community? What's it like to be making wine with your fellow folks in California?
It's great. I mean, I live downtown Sonoma. It's a great small wine community. So I mean, it's awesome, but it's a blessing and a curse, because all of my friends are winemakers or growers, which is amazing, because we're all constantly feeding each other and pumping each other up. The downside is that all we do is talk about wine all the time. But I mean, the community is very strong where I am in Sonoma. Everyone supports each other. I really do think that the younger winemakers that are kind of my age and a little bit younger really are like feeding each other and teaching each other and bringing each other up. Versus I feel like maybe the generation above me, there was a little bit more gatekeeping going on, and I think the younger generation doesn't like that. And so it's an open book with all my friends, which is really enjoyable. Yeah. Well,
you mentioned that you have been on the Winemakers podcast out there, which is all about the community.
Shout out Winemakers podcast.
Shout out Sam Couturier was on the same couch. He was right there. But that whole point of that show is fellow Sonoma and California winemakers, and you drink each other's wine.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're not drinking Stewart or your own wine, what are you drinking, Blair?
Modelo.
Okay. I was hoping you would say Guinness. Because
I love expensive wine and cheap beer. I mean, that's.
Okay, I was hoping you would say Guinness, because you were at Lucien last night, and if anyone doesn't know this, you should. Danielle knows this. She's nodding. Lucien pours a really damn good glass of Guinness. I'm just telling you right now. Like, if you like Guinness, go to Lucien Books and Wine for your Guinness, which is great. So you have a variety of things that you're into. You're drinking your friend's wine. You're drinking beer, which is all those things. Yeah. All right. Well, I think
I just want to shout out. Yeah, we just poured our Montecillo.
I was like, Blair? What are we drinking now? I got it. Mason, shout out.
So I want to talk about this, because this is really the new project for us, and it's going to be a long project, but we're super passionate about it. This is our new Stewart Cellars estate. So in 2022, we were really fortunate to buy a vineyard on Moon Mountain in Sonoma. This is the Montecillo vineyard. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that came across our desk that we couldn't really afford to buy or afford to pass up. So we figured...
You couldn't afford to buy it, but you couldn't pass it up. Okay.
This vineyard is a phenomenal vineyard. It is 1,800 feet up on the mountain. It is dry farmed. It is organically farmed. It was one of the first if not the first, mountain vineyard planted in California in 1857. So California became California in 1850. So 7 years after California became part of the United States. So this is potentially, if it's not the first, it's the second mountain vineyard planted in California. Amazing vineyard. So this is the first wine that we produced off it. This is the Montecillo Cabernet. This will be part of our Nomad program for Stewart. And I also sell some of the grapes to a handful of clients, such as Turley, Bedrock, Di Costanzo, Fire Mountain, Arnott Roberts. We have an amazing winemaker crew coming in to buy some of this fruit. We have some of the oldest current plantings of Cabernet on the ranch. It is a phenomenal vineyard. I truly believe that I can turn it into, the To Kalon of Sonoma. I really do believe it has that much potential. And so I've been working pretty hard. My assistant winemaker, Brian, has been working really hard on really improving this vineyard. It's kind of been lost, over the last few years, and we're trying to bring it back. But yeah, this is first wine out of the gate. We got a 97 on it, on the first release. This is 2022, and the 23s and the 24s are even better in barrel. So
I put my nose in there and it takes me to a place. This is, to me, unmistakably California, which is fun because I want that character to shine. I want there to be a signature smell, aroma, palate structure. I want that in those wines, so it connects me to the place.
Yeah, for sure. It's an amazing vineyard, and you'll hear other winemakers like Morgan at Bedrock or Rodrigo from Fire Mountain talk about it has, there's so much terroir up there. It has this, you can taste Moon Mountain in a lot of Moon Mountain wines, which is unique. You don't get that in every AVA. So we're excited about this. This is going to be a phenomenal vineyard.
Can you look at all the smiles right now? This is awesome. Okay. Oh, thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, of course.
I think that we will open it up to questions now for folks. We are going to move the mic. Franklin, shout out Franklin back here, audio. He's going to move the mic, and y'all get to ask questions to Blair if you feel it in your heart and soul. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
They might be harder than my questions.
We'll open some bottles and let's party. We can party.
And we're gonna, are we doing it? Yep, you're gonna come sit in this chair because we have the video situation, right?
Do you like that? Aaron, have you had this before?
Okay, cool. Oh, so fun.
Okay.
Yes, oh yeah, when you come over,
Okay.
just say who you are.
Yeah, as it opens up, because it's tight.
Say hi to people.
Hi, people.
22.
Shout out me. Okay. Hi, I'm Kimber.
How's it going?
Hi, how's it going? I'm a Glassware founder. But I have more of a question regarding the label and the design of the label. So knowing that you're a graphic designer in your past, you're an artist, I don't think those things ever leave. I'm just curious as to how did you land on this particular label?
So for Stewart Cellars, I did not do the Stewart Cellars labels. They were pre my employment. So my brother-in-law was really the one that designed all the Stewart Cellars labels. But we do have some of my Guthrie family wines here. And those are all designed either by myself or I partner with artists all over the world. So originally for Guthrie family wines, I had started designing them all myself because I was graphic design. The label design of it is something that I love doing. But as I got busier and busier and busier, I was like, I need to start outsourcing. So I had this idea of okay, I'm going to partner with a different artist for every label. So for Guthrie family wines, I'm doing the alphabet of wines. Every one of my SKUs has a letter of the alphabet. It's named after that letter. So A was archival. F is faux. I think we have the Vermentino here, right? Which was the letter N, so it's Neon Vermentino. And so I will basically go to an artist and say, hey, do you want to design a wine label for me? I work with those artists. So I have worked with artists in Texas, England, Brazil, Indonesia, everywhere. And so we just basically, I go to them and say, hey, this is the wine that I'm producing. This is the concept. I want you to produce your style of artwork for me for this label.
Love that.
Yeah.
Do we have plans to do it for Stewart?
Oh, it's the train. It's the Vine Club train. Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait. I'm gonna just let me know. Okay. Any plans to do it for Stewart?
I do in the back of my mind, if I can convince my wife, I think it would be really cool to do like an artist series for Stewart, which would be really fun. So Montecillo Vineyard in... Okay. Great. I'll get your card when we're... I think it would be really cool. So Montecillo Vineyard that is our new estate. That was owned by another gentleman in the 2000s, early 2000s, and it was made into... Kenwood Vineyards made a wine out of that vineyard, and it was called the Artist Series. And they partnered with artists every season and did a series of artwork for that vintage every year. And so I do think in the future it would be really cool to bring that back, that same concept for Montecillo Vineyard, and make an artist series for that as well. Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kimber.
Thank you.
This is the hot seat. If anybody wants, this is the open mic.
Open mic.
I holding a mic on your own. This is your own podcast.
All right, so I do have one question.
Okay.
First of all, thank y'all for coming.
Also, Aaron, don't forget we've got to open up the Gamay, because that's the one that you're...
My toe jam is in?
Yeah.
I said what I said. I said what I said. No, really. Harvest season when I was there last year.
That's what you.
Yeah, you're gonna get to. You're gonna get to taste it. Yeah, my heart, my soul.
I saw the picture, but I thought it was all fake.
You should have saw me trying to get out the vat. No, seriously. Serious note. You've been doing this for some time now.
Yeah.
Is there anything that, hindsight is 2020? Mm-hmm. What do you know now that you wish you would have known then?
Like in my younger, like when I first got into it.
Yeah.
I think this might sound a little bit corny, but you've got two ears and one mouth, so I would listen twice as much as I talked, and less is more in winemaking. I think the secret sauce to winemaking is sometimes doing nothing and just waiting. As humans, we want to like get in and fix and change and move and pull stuff. Sometimes with wine, it's just a waiting game. It's just like wait. Sometimes a wine will just fix itself, and we're so quick to intervene if there's an issue. So I think that when I was younger, I would have like jumped in and gone, no, we need to do this, we need to do that. And sometimes it's just stop, wait, be patient. Wine takes a long time to make. Yeah. Be the two things.
Well, I just want to say, Blair, thank you for coming. As you know, I love the wines. I really am going to give you my credit card for the Pinot.
Thank you for having me. I mean, this is really cool. It looks like you've built a really great community here. I mean, this is what wine's about, dude.
Agreed. Thanks.
Thank you. Hot seat open. Open for business.
I think we're going to also open up the Gamay in the room. I think he's going to bring the Gamay out now.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's more wines for that, yes.
Yeah.
Come on, just come on. Fellow winemaker, by the way.
Okay, all right.
Trying to be at least. Hello, my name is Peter. I'm a winery owner, winemaker.
Okay, cool. Where?
Detroit, Michigan. Out of Michigan.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
Go green!
Yeah, go green. My wife's a Sparty as well over there. So I promise I won't be too nerdy, but I'm curious, how do you go about like your barrel selection when you're putting the red wine together?
Yeah. So like my New Oak selection of my Coopers.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I take it just as serious as I do selecting a vineyard.
Okay.
So right before I left, actually, I put all my New Oak orders in with my Coopers. And so it takes a really long time to figure out what Coopers work with your wines. But I really look at using different oak as just like I do blending. I'm buying different Coopers that have different flavor profiles or structure to them, and thinking how they're going to fit into the palate. And so I'm trying to layer those in. So some winemakers will use just like one cooper, one toast of a barrel, and that's all they put that wine in.
Okay.
For me, I like to put a bunch of different coopers in. And so let's say I have a 12 barrel lot, and I want to put 50% new oak on it. Those 6 new oak barrels are probably going to be 6 different coopers for me. And it's because they're hitting different parts of the palate. They're giving different flavor.
Got you.
Yeah.
So are you going for some acidity, some fruit, and then it sounds like you like to add a lot of new oak to the profile. So
yeah, so it depends, right? So you can add a lot of new oak, and it looks like a lot percentage-wise, but it depends on the toast label as well, and the cooper, right? So you can get, let's say, a Stockinger barrel that is an LDL toast, which is a really light toast. You could put that on 100%, and because it's so light, it might only look like 20. And so you're really, the only way to do it is trial and error to figure out like what works. But I mean, I would say when I'm trying to figure out new oak use that I haven't used before, I will go and taste other winemakers' wines. So I'll be like, hey, can I come to your winery and taste through your stuff? We'll sit down, talk about the wines, go barrel tasting. So, but wow, that Cooper works really well. That Darren barrel or that Atelier barrel, whatever it is, yeah.
So I got to fly out to California because there's only one winery in Detroit, so I don't have that luxury. Yeah, you got to fly out to California.
Oh, okay. You have to go to California.
I know, right?
Bummer.
My wife won't mind, but I appreciate
cool.
that.
So what are you making?
So we're in Michigan, so we're cold climate. So primarily we're going to focus on sparkling wine and rosés. Yeah. But a really good year, we'll do a red wine. So
cool.
2024 was a really good year.
Okay.
We don't know where it's going to be, obviously. It takes a few years to figure out how good that year is going to be.
Yeah.
But Cab Franc is kind of like the baseline.
Awesome.
Red grape followed by Pinot Noir.
Cool.
So...
Also, I'll give you my details before we leave, and I'm happy to talk to you more about it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to meeting you. Like I said, I don't want to nerd anybody out, but I'll get out the house seat. So. Okay.
Yeah, we can nerd out.
So let's talk about yeast selection. I'm just joking.
We can do that.
Yeah. All right.
Some Gamay. I think there's some Vermentino.
It's a suit. Is it a suit?
No, it's just I got on tank tops. Y'all a mess. Hi.
How's it going?
It's going okay. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for coming to the A. We appreciate you.
Of course.
Oh, I need to talk louder? Okay. I'm Randy. Oh. No.
The audio is very...
Is it? Okay. I said, thank you for coming to the A. We appreciate you. So I'm Randy. I curate events that I pair hip hop and wine. And that Nomad is already like 1990s backpack hip hop. Like event is already going.
Awesome.
Event's already going. But I'm also I'm also an ICU nurse. Okay. So I'm curious to know, and I asked this question in like a Women in Wine of Atlanta setting. How do you feel about the warning labels coming to fruition in wine? Like, how do you feel that will impact?
I think I welcome it. I think that I think we should put ingredients on the labels. Why shouldn't we? Every other product that we consume has it. I think it only harms us to not talk about it. Because then there's secrecy and hiding, and I think any really great wine has very minimal ingredients in it anyway, none of which are bad, and so it's going to be completely fine for any reputable winery or winemaker. It's going to probably be a problem for some of the big conglomerate wineries that are putting in 20 different ingredients into their wine, grape concentrate or whatever it is. So I welcome it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. And I mean, we have it in every other food product. Why shouldn't we have it on alcohol as well? I actually put my ingredients on the Guthrie Family Wines labels already.
Okay.
And that's already happening with a lot of younger winemakers. Yeah, just being open and transparent about it.
I say, transparency is important, but I do understand.
Yeah. And I do, like the health talks about like alcohol and things like that. Like we need more studies and we need to know more about it, because you look at some of the oldest living people on earth and they all love to have a glass of wine every couple of nights.
Listen.
I think moderation is key.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone should be drinking a bottle every night, but like I think a glass of wine, like you look at these people that live to 110 years old and they're doing it.
Yeah. I think their food is also grown very well.
Yes, there's that. Absolutely.
Well, I think
the matrix of that is so complex to blame one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't add up to me. Yeah.
All right.
So,
thank you.
yeah. Let's go.
I'm gonna need it.
You have a full glass of wine. It's not the Pinot, but
It's all right. Thank you. My name is James. I'm not in the wine industry. I just love wine.
Just love drinking.
And consume quite a bit of it.
Great.
we love you.
Yes, we love you.
You mentioned some houses that we know in Sonoma too are not Roberts. You mentioned one more too.
Bedrock and
Yeah. My struggle with California wines is the cost.
yeah,
These wines are just way too expensive compared to what we can buy. There is Italy, there is French, there is South Africa, and there is Austria, there is German.
Yeah.
What is it that is making these wines this costly?
Yeah.
And being produced locally in
Great
California?
question. Awesome, because we've been having these conversations internally. I think the reality is that some of these other industries like Chile or even France, they're subsidized by the government when they produce those wines. They have a lot of tax breaks. Also, if you think of, let's call it, a Chilean white or Spanish white wine that comes in here, their economy, the U.S. economy is so strong. We pay our employees $25, $35 an hour for, basic level vineyard workers are getting $25 an hour. So like when you go to these other countries, their salaries are much lower. So the cost for them to produce is so much lower. So we're never going to be able to compete on price in America. That's why manufacturing is not here, right? Like that's why it's been seen overseas for the same reasons. It's always going to cost more to produce it in the U.S. in the wine industry. The labor expense is much higher. So we can't compete, but we also don't have the government subsidies for viticulture or winemaking that some of these other countries have. So they can produce it just for a much lower cost than we can. So I think ultimately, that if the cost is the only reason you're buying the wine, we can't compete. Like we're screwed, right? But there's more to wine than that. And I don't think that wine should be in California. We should be trying to produce cheap wine. I think that we have great terroir. We have some of the world's best winemakers. We should be producing great wines at hopefully an affordable price, but they're always going to be more expensive than some of these other places. I think if we're trying to be the lowest common denominator and the cheapest wine in California, we're screwed. It's not going to happen. Like these other countries will just come in. Vodka can beat us on that. I want to make real crafted wine that has intention behind it, and it's going to cost more money, but it's a real wine. I can't compete against a tank farm in Spain that is produced in rows and rows and rows of tanks, and that a human never touches, and they bring it in here for $4 a bottle. We can't compete against that, and I don't think we should. Yeah.
And it's good quality wine. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
For sure.
We love California wines. We love Oregon wines. But I think the answer to her question, what can we do to support you guys?
Yeah.
Will be for you guys to form something that we can lobby around and get those subsidies.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
we can be able to afford local wine, because it's almost impossible right now to afford some of these good wines that we enjoy drinking.
I agree.
We can still walk into a store and find a $36, cab that you can buy.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
we want to support.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge.
I think we have to, again, back to supporting all these small family wineries and growers is the way we can bring costs down, because if we can sell wine more easily, we're going to be able to bring the cost down. Yeah, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's pull all these bottles out. Let's pour some of these other bottles.
What should I have?
Yeah, what do we got? We got Vermin. Yeah, well, I think we have like a old vintage of Nomad. I think we have like a 2012 Los Piedras.
Any other questions?
What's your favorite on the lineup that you poured for us today? There's something that you always go back to.
I love the rosé. I love drinking the rosé.
1 sec. We'll capture. Jamila, do you want to? Jamila back here. She just asked what your favorite wine is in the lineup that you poured for us tonight.
Rosé all day. Yeah.
And the Pinot Noir, we love
The
that.
rosé is great. I mean, we literally have we only make a small amount of it. It's only at the tasting room. We don't put it into wholesale, and we have winemakers that come to the tasting room to buy cases of it.
What do I want? Yeah. Danielle just asked me if I wanted the Gamay, and my answer is yes.
I think
right?
Gamay, yeah. I mean, Gamay's got a bright
Mason's
future
on
in California.
So, yeah, tell us about the Gamay, because I did not expect to have this in my glass tonight. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I did not expect a Gamay.
I think Gamay has a really bright future in California, especially in like Sonoma Valley. I think it's a great spot for it. So this vineyard's in Sonoma Valley. I think it could actually make better wine than potentially Pinot Noir. I know that's controversial, but I think we can make some really good Gamays. So I'm excited. I've grafted a vineyard right behind Rossi Ranch in Sonoma Valley. So Rossi Ranch is a really famous vineyard that Phil Couturi farms. So right behind it is literally a set of pine trees in between Rossi Ranch and this Gamay vineyard that we've just grafted. And so we're producing Gamay off that now. And Kieran's buying some. Our buddy
Kieran Robinson, yes,
Kieran,
R5 Wines.
R5 Wines
If
is
you
going to
ever
be making
find yourself outside of Philadelphia, go take the train over to R5 Wines, right?
Exactly, yes.
Because he's friends with Blair, which is great. So I feel like the California wine community is an interesting place to be for you right now. We're so lucky to have you. Is there any other questions? No, they just want to have the food come out. That's it.
Let's eat and drink wine.
We have Bovino After Dark is providing food for all of y'all. Huge shout out to all of you for coming today.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Can we get cheers to Taylor and Vine Club for having us? Yay! Shout out Franklin Sound. Shout out Merlin Video, the first video podcast of A Cork in the Road ever. That's going to be an interesting world to dive into. Thank you, Merlin.
Can you put a filter on all these?
Yeah, I need a filter. YouTube, watch out. And yeah, thank you, Blair, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Aaron, for making this possible.
Shout out, Aaron.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's get a collective cheers with Gamay in my glass from California.
Cheers.
Let's go. Cheers, everyone.